Foreign Secretary, do you welcome the new powers to ban Palestine Action? Commissioner, we're just trying to ask you about this new law that's come through. You don't need to push our photographer over. I'm here in Westminster a couple of days after the government has banned Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation. Never before has a protest group been classed as a terror organisation, and even former Labour government ministers have voiced concern about this move.
If you start labelling people willy-nilly terrorists right across the board, you're going down a very, very dangerous route.
I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions about how the ban's going to be policed and how it came to be passed in the first place. So I'm going to keep an eye out for any ministers or security officials who I might be able to ask the questions that I know you want asking. Good afternoon, Foreign Secretary. I'm a journalist from Declassified UK. Can we just ask you a couple of questions about your policy on Israel and Gaza? Foreign Secretary, do you welcome the new powers to ban Palestine Action? Do you think serious destruction of property is terrorism? If so, Minister, why haven't you banned the IDF as a terrorist organisation? They've destroyed 92% of residential buildings in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people left homeless. Is that not the work of a terrorist organisation? Foreign Secretary, are you going to place sanctions on Benjamin Netanyahu? He's wanted by the International Criminal Court, and you still haven't sanctioned him. So that was David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, refusing to answer our questions about the government's ban on Palestine Action. He doesn't seem to think that the IDF, which has destroyed far more property than Palestine Action ever has, should be classed as a terrorist organisation. And he also didn't want to answer why the UK government has still not placed sanctions on Benjamin Netanyahu, even though he's wanted for alleged war crimes in Gaza by the International Criminal Court. Good afternoon, Police Commissioner. I'm Phil Miller. I'm a journalist from Declassified UK. Can we just ask you how you're going to police the ban on Palestine Action? You don't want to take questions from the press about this, Commissioner? Thousands of people have declared their support for the group. Is this law unenforceable? Do you think damage to property should be treated as terrorism? Do you have the resources to police this ban? We've just had the anniversary of 7/7, when people were killed by suicide bombers. Aren't those the terrorists that you should be focusing on? Commissioner, we're just trying to ask you about this new law that's come through. You don't need to push our photographer over, Commissioner. Commissioner, why don't you want to answer questions about these new powers that you have? Is Britain turning into a police state? This 83-year-old priest that was arrested at the weekend, is she a terrorist, Commissioner? Do you think the Home Secretary made a mistake to give the police these extra powers? So that was the Met Police Commissioner, Mark Rowley, London's most senior police officer, who didn't want to answer our questions about the ban on Palestine Action and how he's going to enforce it. It means that for the first time, a non-violent direct action protest group, which has tens of thousands of supporters across the country, is now classed as a terrorist organisation. The police will have to treat it as if it were Al-Qaeda, a group that we've just had the anniversary of them blowing up London Underground and buses. What was surprising about that interaction is just how physical both Mark Rowley was and his minders as well. The police chief actually pushed my colleague into the barriers while he was trying to film, and immediately his colleague came up with that classic police excuse that my cameraman somehow fell over himself, which was clearly not the case. But I think this just shows that, frankly, they're a bit panicked. They've got these sweeping new powers, which on the one hand I think they quite welcome, but on the other hand, the optics of them arresting priests in their 80s.
I'm here to stand up for the people of Palestine and the fact that this organisation has been said is a terrorist organisation, which is taken off, and that we are losing our civil liberties in this country.
Is possibly undermining the public's confidence in terrorism legislation. We're going to keep a lookout now to see if there's anyone else from the government or the authorities who we can ask about the ban. Northern Ireland Secretary, I'm a journalist. Just got a couple of questions to ask you, if possible. And I know you're a very busy man. How do you think the government are going to police the ban on Palestine Action? You've seen lots of terrorism in Northern Ireland. Do you think Palestine Action is in the same league? Is damage to property, should that be treated as terrorism? Northern Ireland Secretary? Putting Palestine Action in the same league as the IRA? Is that good for public safety? How's it going to be policed, Minister? So that was the Northern Ireland Secretary, Hilary Benn. Again, didn't want to answer our questions about the government's ban on Palestine Action. He's obviously responsible for a part of the country which has seen serious terrorism over the years from both Republican and Loyalist groups. Thousands of people were killed in the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Homemade bombs were a hallmark of that conflict, which means MI5 are going to have to be keeping an eye out for plots from Palestine Action members who might be wishing to spray paint on buildings. So I've been in Westminster for only half an hour, and already we've encountered 3 ministers and security officials involved in counter-terrorism. None of them wanted to answer our questions about the new ban on Palestine Action and how it's going to be enforced. And quite frankly, the attitude of some of them towards the press was deeply concerning. Pushing over our cameraman was completely uncalled for. And I dread to think how, under this new legislation, which has quite sweeping implications for free speech, they might seek to use those laws against journalists who ask difficult questions about the ban. If you like the work we're doing at Declassified, we need your support now more than ever. Free speech is truly under threat. So if you're able to sign up to our mailing list so you can stay in touch with us, even if the social media platforms try to cancel us, and if you want us to do more journalism like this, please make a donation either through the Super Thanks button below or on our website. Thanks for watching.